I want to try an experiment. I'm going to put on a record and ask one question. How long does an album need before you know exactly where you are? Sometimes not very long. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Dave's Side 1. I'm Dave, your host, over here at Art of Listening Records, where every record has a story. But this week I want to do something a little different. For the next 7 episodes, we're going to talk less about what you should listen to and more about what you can listen for. No music theory test, no homework. We're just going to take records we already know, listen to them a little differently, and see what we discover. And we're starting with Earth, Wind & Fire's album, I Am. Now think about meeting somebody for the first time. Sometimes it takes a while before you understand their personality. Other people, you know immediately. Records can work the same way. Some albums gradually reveal themselves. Others drop the needle and say, "This is who we are." And I Am is one of those records for me. The album begins with In the Stone. And I want you to forget the song for a moment. Instead, listen to the amount of information you're getting. Rhythm, horns, vocals, arrangement, scale. None of those things exist by itself. They're interacting, and that interaction starts creating the identity of the record. First, the record has to arrive. Not every album needs a dramatic entrance. Some of my favorite records sneak up on me, but that's not what I Am is doing. This album walks through the door with confidence. There's an immediate sense of energy, purpose, and movement. You're not waiting for the record to get started. It has started. But energy alone isn't identity. Lots of records have energy. The next question is, what makes this sound like this record? It's the combination, the rhythmic foundation, the horn writing, the voices, the orchestration, the precision of the arrangement. Pull one ingredient out and you still have music. Put them all together and now you have personality. Here's the part we don't always think about. An opening track makes a promise. Not literally, but once I've heard the beginning of a record, I start forming expectations. I expect a certain level of musicianship, a certain energy, a certain attention to arrangement, a certain sonic world. The opening has taught me what kind of record I think I'm hearing. And that's where this gets interesting, because the rest of the album should not simply repeat the opening track. That's not identity, that's repetition. The album needs room to move. Different tempos, different moods, different arrangements, different emotional spaces. But underneath those changes, do I still recognize the musical world I entered at the beginning? That's the test. Now let's talk about cohesion versus sameness. This is an important distinction. A cohesive album doesn't mean every song sounds alike. In fact, if every track gives me something exactly the same, the album may become less interesting. What I want is variety inside an identity. Different rooms, same house. So here's our first side 1 test for the week. Does the opening command my attention the way the album intends? Can I hear a distinct musical personality? What expectations does the opening create? Does the rest of the album develop that identity? That's the album introduction test. And here's what I want you to try. Pick an album you know really well, not a new record, one you've heard dozens of times. Put it on, and instead of immediately following the song, ask yourself what the opening is telling you about the album. What is it promising? And then listen to see whether the rest of the record keeps that promise. That's what I hear when I put on I Am. The opening doesn't explain everything that's going to happen. It shouldn't, but it establishes the language, the confidence, the scale, the attention to detail. A great album introduction doesn't tell you everything that's coming. It teaches you what to listen for. So on tonight's Side One Spin, what album announces itself almost immediately to you? Not necessarily your favorite opening song. I'm asking something different. What album begins and within moments you understand the musical world you've entered? Come back and tell me the artist, tell me the album, and tell me what you hear. Tomorrow, we're going to change what we're listening to. Stop following the singer, stop following the guitar, and listen to what the drummer is doing. That's it for today's Side One. Thanks for spending a little time with me, and please keep that needle in the groove. And listen for what the record is telling you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.